Lee was unbelievable. Chris Abraham's story is truly inspiring every time I hear it. But we're going to start digging into the panel sessions now. And remember, we've put all of these together because from feedback from you guys. We did some questionnaires and polls on Workplace, and we asked what you wanted to learn about, what you want to hear more of. And so that's what we're trying to put on is something that's going to give value to the agents that are eXp. Without further ado, we're going to crack on with that. And it's our first panel session, which is called Prospecting, a Lead Gen Blueprint for the Hunters. And for this, we're going to welcome back Lee Woodward, who's going to be moderating and hosting the session. And his guests are going to be Jonathan Woods, Raf Agbanji, Andrew Byrne, and, of course, Christopher Woods. All right, take a seat.
Welcome back. Is my microphone on there? I am. Okay, we've got 4 wonderful people here who are just like you, got to go out every day and generate business. And I dislike the word prospecting, but it's a word we have to use. Prospecting is one of those words like retirement. Retirement means no longer in use. That's the true term of retirement. Especially over here, it's how they got people out of politics and so forth. But prospecting is from the original gold, sifting through and you're trying to prospect for something. In real estate, it's about future business. That's the correct term. Every day you wake up, what can I do to generate future business? And with the results and our organic panel here, Raf, we're going to start with you. You're our letters man. What do we do?
So letters is about consistency. We have the magic letter at eXp, and I use that consistently. And I think it's intriguing because people who have been on the market for a long time get that letter, and it causes them to call you. But you have to use it consistently, weekly or bi-weekly, but you have to be consistent in using it.
And what's been your best message of letter?
Sorry, best message?
Like what's in the letter? What's the letter actually saying?
So the magic letter, if you've not seen it, is a very basic letter, I think, introduced to the business by Scott Gunn. And it simply says, you've got the address of the property, and it says, call us back. It's got your phone number, and I'm available up until any time until 8 p.m. And nothing more than that.
Now,
I don't know if you can hear me. I was just going to add into the letters side of things, because it's something which I think all of us, you get when you first start, you get given different lead gen things to do, and it was something which I really embraced. And I started from the very first week and got the loop data, which some people use different data tools that you can have, and all about the consistency. I started with the first week with 80 letters, which I hand wrote, and then I decided to hand deliver them. Now, being in London, it's a little bit easier because the density is much higher. So within a quarter-mile radius, I had about 80 to 100 properties on the market. So, but I put them in nice coloured envelopes. I know a lot of people do that, handwriting it, but walking out into the community, not only were you delivering the letters, but you were being visible. So, you walk up to a door and put a letter through the door. And sometimes, I've never knocked a door in my life. I don't do that. That's my personal thing. But some people are brilliant at it. But I kind of did it inadvertently by putting letters through people's doors. People will sometimes come to the door. And of course, you'll then propose we're talking to them. So what are you doing? I'm putting a letter through your door. I've started my new real estate business. And I've been in the business for 15, 20 years. And I'm trying to do things a little bit differently. And you end up striking up a conversation. But also putting a post onto social media. I'm out giving out letters today. If you see me, James used to put one and say, "Oh, if you see a guy dripping in the rain, make sure you invite me in and look after me." But you're doing that consistently. My very first listing came from a letter which someone received 6 weeks prior. And I know a lot of people start with letters and then they don't get a call back for the first week or the second week or the third week, and think, "Oh, it's not working," and stop. But you've got to keep going, and eventually you'll get a call back. And just bear in mind that, in my area, average fee is probably £7,000 to £8,000. So one callback is £8,000. It's worth it.
The other thing I'd always say with the letters as well is the letterheads are available with your face on them. So that puts a face to your brand. So I always find, I usually use the letter in conjunction with door knocking. And sometimes when you knock on the door, because they've had several letters from you, they know who you are as soon as they open the door. I've got a little story of when I knocked on the door, a gentleman who received 7 letters from me. He opened the door, he's like, "Oh, Raphael, I received 7 letters from you. I was literally going to call you, but I wasn't out of contract with my current agent. Do you want to come in for a coffee?" Subsequently, that led to an instruction, and the property was sold, and it was an £8,000 fee.
Interesting point here. And as our panel takes us through what they're doing, I'll give some technique to what's going on. There's a great skill called warming up the data. Sometimes we ring too early, you catch them off guard, you're offside. But the letter's gone out, you're thinking nothing's working, and then there's a connection and you've warmed up the data. And for all of you, it's a blended marketing approach, and we might move on to that. Networking, what are you doing there?
I think Jonathan's a networking man around here. Mine's been more kind of social media and a bit of door knocking myself initially. Do you want to speak about
Yeah, I mean, so I think we all do network. That's why we're all here. We're here to meet people. And I think sometimes with digital and social media, sometimes we forget that we are humans, and face-to-face interaction is so important. And I was introduced to BNI, which some of you may have heard of, Business Networking International, by Miles, actually, who's in the room. And at the outset, it was it's quite a big financial outlay, and you think, well, is that something which I want to put money into? But I'm really glad I did, and it was an initial upfront investment, probably 4 or 5 months into my career, and you meet every week, and you meet with different people, and you get referred business from it. And by meeting with people face to face, you make those connections. People are more likely to refer business to you. That extrapolates further on, going to things like this, but also I've had the pleasure of going to the States and going to Orlando and going to Las Vegas. We were in Lisbon last week. I've had 3 referrals from people from Portugal. I went to that conference in May, and I've had 3 referrals from people from that conference who are selling in London. I've got someone who's maybe selling something in the Cotswolds. If anyone covers Cotswolds, come and see me, because we've got maybe 54 acres worth of land and a house to sell. So I'd be interested in networking with you.
Very good. We'll move on. What's your number 1?
Initially, certainly door knocking. Did a lot of that. And, my approach to door knocking is a very relaxed sort of thing. It's sort of, I suppose over the time that you do door knocking, you get more used to it and you're just more comfortable. At first I was like, yeah, we're the best agent, use us. You just need to knock on the door and just say, "Hi, I just wanted to say hello. I know you're on the market, and how's it all going?" And 9 times out of 10, they will spill their guts because, they've been on the market for a while. Their agent's probably not contacting them that regularly, and they want to actually speak to somebody about how it's going. You do need to make sure you get the number. I remember Ben said in a podcast, make sure you get the number on the doorstep, which is very true, because you can get excited you've had a great conversation, but if you haven't got their number, you can't follow up. But for anybody that's nervous of door knocking, I'd say that's it's in your own mind. If you're friendly and you're not too salesy, then people are just going to be quite receptive to that, and then you're in. For me, that was big. I've probably got 5 instructions over the first month or so from door knocking, but a big one for me has been social media. I saw the writing on the wall that I was going to leave my last company and hand my shares in, so I laid the groundwork, had 5 months of, I was doing business interviews for my last company, a road-by-road guide to values. We had local elections a few weeks ago. I continued, I did a elevator pitch with each of the parties' candidates, so Labour, Conservative, Lib Dem, and an independent, just gave them 30 seconds to give a pitch to the local community of why we should elect them. That went over quite well. So the content's good, but where you put it is obviously very important. Around where I am in Epsom, there's a huge community Facebook hub, 22,000 followers. Approached the lady there, and amazingly, no other estate agent had taken up her offer of £135 a month to be the only sales agent on the biggest Facebook hub in Epsom. And I bit her hand off, obviously. And then in the next village to us, there was another Facebook group there, and he wasn't monetizing his thing in the way that the Epsom lady was. So I put them in touch with each other, and he then monetized it on the condition that I was the only sales agent able to go on that hub as well. So then I had an audience of 40,000 people that I am the only agent allowed to advertise to them, and then it's just putting quality content out to that. And then actually the lady that ran the Epsom one, she had a house to sell, 1.3 million quid. She did me on the fee a bit, 5.5 grand. But that 5.5 grand, sold it last week. That 5.5 grand now will pay for, what's that, 5 years or something? 5 years of almost free advertising, if you look at it that way. And that's been huge for me.
Very, very good. And we'll now cross over to the sporting world. What's been working for you there?
Yeah, so sorry, that's a bit loud.
Good, you got a good bingo voice there.
I was going to say. Legs 11. Basically, I play golf, I play tennis, I do Pilates, and that's where I network at all these events and clubs. At the school, doing sponsorship, a lot of the things that we all probably do. But everywhere I go, I sort of try to find out what other people do for a living, and then they automatically ask me what I do, and then it's just making sure that everyone knows who you are and what you do. And everyone likes to talk to an estate agent most of the time, and find out what your opinion is on the market. And they always know someone who's had a story. So it just gets your foot in the door. And, my window cleaner, for example, recommended me to a house, to a lady that he went round to visit. And I've just been instructed on that this week. And that's £8,000 plus VAT fee. So it just shows you just the power of connectivity within your, immediate people that you can speak to, because I think that just gets it out there, and that trust as well.
Chris, I think I think people love to refer people. I don't know about you, but if I go to a really nice restaurant, I really want to tell people about it.
Yeah.
And I think, if you've had a really good experience with your estate agent, organically people want to tell other people about that experience. There's no monetary value to them whatsoever.
No.
They just want to refer good business to other people.
Yeah.
And I think it's very easy also for general people to understand what we do. We sell homes, we rent homes. If you work in more of a niche environment, an SEO or something or whatever, it's very difficult for the layperson to refer that because they don't understand the business. No. Whereas with property, everyone knows someone who's selling something somewhere. And I think that's the key point to your network.
They've all got a story, haven't they?
Exactly.
Throughout their own process.
Can I just share with everyone, there's a great international skill called method of introduction. And method of introduction, let's say you're going for a key listing in your area, it's the best house, everyone's going to be going for it, and you say to me, I'm trying to get this house, and I go, which one? Who owns it? And you go, Jamie Wilson. Oh, the guitar player? Yeah, I know him, we went to school together. Really? How about I call him and just let him know? Method of introduction. And I think one thing that's coming across here in the panel that's very important, but a dialogue I'd ask you to bring into your mind is, you get to, when you've done a transaction with an owner and that it's exchanged, and we're now going towards settlement, if that happens with the domino thing, that'll be great. But as you go towards settlement, you've got to make sure you've got phone calls that are not business related. And one of those is the I miss you call. And you ring up and say, look, how you going? What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I just thought I'd give you a call and reach out. I miss you. We used to speak every day. Now we don't. Now that we've landed the buyer. But how are you feeling? And it's at that point people open up to you and let you know how they're truly feeling. And you just throw this into it. Say, look, is there anybody else you know I could help? The hardest thing about real estate is as soon as I sell a house, I wake up unemployed. And that's how real estate works. And this is where I want to take the panel now. And Raph, will start with you. Right now, all of you are speaking about promotional marketing and you don't know this question's coming, so really get excited by this. What question are you going to ask me? Don't know yet. Here we go. But this is common, and I see this in a lot of agents. A lot of you think I've got to go and promote. So bus stops, promotional marketing. But you've got to know how to cut into your data that you've already got. The greatest marketing campaign in the world is love the one you're with. So for all of you, for the followers and data you've got and transactions, what's the established client campaign that you're doing for the ones that know you versus we've just heard about the ones that don't know you, you're getting to know you, introductions and so forth. What do you do with your current database to keep that alive?
So I send all of my people who have bought and sold through me, they receive yearly anniversary cards from me. They also receive Christmas cards from me. And I do free monthly phone calls as well.
Very good.
Yeah, I think it's something which is highlighted very much by people like yourself, that we undervalue the data that we have. And, I'll hold my hands up. I probably don't do as much as I should do with the current data that I have. I think we're very good at asking inbound buyers if they've got anything to sell. I think that's something we do naturally. But then asking for further referrals. And I do that with our on-the-market property. So people who've got things like that question, can I help anyone else? I've just sold 3 on the same road from that very same thing. But I'm not as consistent as I should be. And I think definitely it's something which we all should be doing more of.
Very good.
I'm like Raf, I do the Christmas cards, but I think the birthday card one is a good one because we've got all that info. So I need to do that, but the Christmas cards always go down well.
Okay, something's happening here. I'll tell you in a moment.
Yeah, I need to send more Christmas cards, I think. And but I'm very structured about my following up of clients. If I speak to somebody and they're like, yeah, no, we're going to sell next year, in it goes to the diary. I'll call them in March, so I build that. And then, each day I'll probably have 1 or 2 people that I've just got to stay in touch with. So I'm quite sort of touchy-feely with it, and just make sure that according to that conversation that you've had, when should you speak to them again? When's appropriate? Not pestering them, just making a judgment call on when should I speak to this person again. So I just build my diary like that.
I think I was just going to add the takeaway. You were saying about the leave behind. I think what I do with completions, I know a lot of us have little completion gifts, maybe give out flowers or give out chocolates or champagne or whatever. And it just reminded me to keep doing it. So when I first started, every completion I would give a chopping board with my branding on it. Just thinking people use a chopping board. They're probably going to keep using it.
No wonder there's issues of fees in this country. Continue on.
Yeah, so that's something which I think is quite good to have as a takeaway or a keep hold, so that they use it on a day-to-day basis.
This is so interesting, and the learning's in the learning. One of our top ladies has got every settlement in her diary for her career. And she says, Lee, look at tomorrow. There's 3 settlements tomorrow. I said, what do you do? She goes, 3:30 in the afternoon, I knock on the door, and I've got a candle. And I drop off the candle. And the candles, if you don't burn it too much, should last a year. And she says, it's been 4 years ago since you moved in. Just want to drop a gift over. Hope you're well. What's the most important thing she's done? She's gone up face to face. But what's the first thing she's trying to work out? Are they still there? You guys think they're there, they're not, they've gone. So she's got the candle in the tenant's hand. She goes, whoa, not for you. Where'd they go? And this is, how do you get back connected to the people who know you and love the one you're with is so important. Everyone's out, got to go in. So getting face to face in some way, and it could be you're dropping the brochure over of a house you've just sold, you've got 20 brochures left, I'm going to scatter them around. But being surrounding the property, that networking around that, it just refreshes your name in their mind that when someone says, oh, I'm getting divorced, sorry to hear that, you two seem so happy. I don't know why people say that, but they do. And they don't think of your name because you're not in their mind. And prospecting is about how do you refresh your name. Raph, if I picked you up, threw you in another country, let's say Australia, and you know no one, cold start, no one knows who you are, didn't go to school there, you got no track record, nothing, what would you do to get known? That's legal.
I think the first thing would be trying to work out properties that have been on the market for a long time and approach them by knocking on the door, really. That would be the first thing, because you want to get your face out there, you want to introduce yourself to as many people as possible. So that would be me. I'd get out there and start talking to people and knocking on doors, because you'll be quite distinctive, and that will I think that will resonate with a lot of people.
Okay.
For me, community. I think getting out and about in the area that you live and using social media to push out as much content about that area that you operate in. When I first started in the area that I live in, Earlsfield in London, we have a disproportionate amount of coffee shops. We've got about 8 of them in a very small radius. And so I started going out and reviewing that and putting out sort of reviews of flat whites in each one. And people started to engage in that and were saying, oh, why don't you go and try this sausage roll at this place, or the other bits of cookies at the other place. So it's about, I think, for me, being in the community and being in person there so that you meet people.
This is an interesting point. Are you on the edge of your community or are you in your community? There is a significant difference. From your sporting connections, you send it at the right place, the right time. I'm at the club, I'm there. You're in the community. I see so many people spend money on the community. You know, I bought the poster, but I don't go there. I don't know anyone. That's a waste of money. Edge or in? What would you do?
I think, the first thing is, like Raf said, you would just send letters and go door knocking, just to follow that up. That's the quickest way to get the low-hanging fruit. And then, obviously, the next thing is to get into the community, and then it will all meet up, get your social media going, and away you go. Just having that continuity.
Very good.
Yeah, I mean, if you drop me in the middle of Timbuktu and you're starting absolutely fresh, I would probably just door knock initially. But the key goal for me is you get that first property on, and then more are going to follow if you've got that property correctly priced. So I started in March. I've taken on 31 properties since March. 9 of those 31 properties were from people that called me saying, I love that house. They love it because it's correctly priced. And then they're tripping over themselves to give you their property. So for me, that is the most practical thing that you can do. An example I had in my about month 2, I had a property that had been on with my previous company. It was on at 850, dropped to 800, still not getting anywhere. I took it on, and all it took was a 20 grand adjustment to 780. And I had 4 offers on it ultimately, but I got 3 instructions from that, people wanting to buy the property, and 2 other valuations which I'll work on and maybe get on. It's worth about, those 3 instructions worth 24 grand. You know, when you're 2 months into the business, you know, so that just on a very practical level, just getting those properties, that's a much more direct way of getting a quick start to your business and continuing. You know, that's what you want to be doing all the time for me.
This is so good. Quick moment that's going on here. There's a very good technique called destination selling. Most people, when they go to sell their house, they don't think they'll have any trouble selling their house. But where are they going becomes an interesting thing. And a great dialogue sequence is to move beyond their sale and you say, so John, just suppose this house is sold. Where would you move to? Oh, I want to go to Manchester. Why would you want to go to Manchester? Oh, we've got family there and we're starting a business together. When do you need to be there? Where, why, when? It's the best qualification sequence. But to share a cross parallel here, quite often we'll have a buyer out looking at property. And this is an interesting question. How many of you, just this for your own mind, how many buyers do you have that could buy in the next 24 hours? Ready to go. I'm ready to go. People don't think about that. They just think of the purchasing community. But when you've got a buyer who's ready to go, what you actually do is say, where do you want to be? I love this street, this street, this street. Go for a drive, take the photos of the house you like, shoot them to me, I'll go and knock on the door. The best way to knock on a door is to say, your house has been nominated. These people are desperately trying to find a home, they can't find one. I know it's a long shot, but would you release the asset if you had someone who was ready to go straight away? And that's destination selling. I was interested that all of you approach people who are on the market, how you're going. So in Australia, this is why I'm finding this really interesting, no one can jump a sign. You are not allowed to go and speak to somebody else's owner. That is just not on. But the greatest thing to ask an owner on the market is, where do you want to go to? Let me help you with that. And it's that destination of, okay, I noticed your property's on the market. How's it all going? Well, I'm still here, right? That's going well then. If it was sold, where do you want to be? And I think that's the difference that comes through this. What would be, another open question for all of you, your best conversation that you're having with the data that leads somewhere? It's amazing how everyone gets on the phone and starts ringing people. It's so easy to ring 100 people and speak to nobody. Are you with me? You can ring 100 people and you haven't spoken to anyone because there was no context to the conversation of your purpose of the phone call or the reason for the phone call. What's your favourite phone call, Raf?
I think favourite phone calls when you when I call people that I've sold to, and you know they're talking about future plans or they're talking about somebody else they know that might be thinking of moving in the short term, and can you help them with a rough valuation or giving them free advice, because in that initial moment there's no genuine benefit in that initial moment, but you know that that benefit is coming somewhere down the line. So those are the conversations that I really enjoy when people ask you for advice or they're talking about someone else and asking you to try and help them, and they're not expecting, you're not expecting anything in return.
Very good.
I think, favourite phone call would be when someone calls off one of your letters. I think a lot of us get into prospecting, sending out letters, and then when you get that phone call, we're like, oh, what do I do now? And often it's not actually a positive callback. It's a callback saying, stop sending me these letters. And so then you say, oh, great. You say, so what was your name? And what address is it? Oh, it's 27 Abscombe Drive. Okay, look, I'm really, really sorry. Yeah, so I just normally send out letters because I've got lots of buyers that are looking to buy places, and your house was on that list. And that's why I sent you the letter. No, well, don't send me. I'm really happy with my agent. Okay, and then you've got now a name and address. That's the whole point of your letters. Not everyone's going to call you back and say, hey, here's an instruction. They're calling, the whole purpose is you've got now a data point and you've got to chase. And the more chases you have, the more prospective properties you're going to have on the marketplace. So that for me is the best. When someone calls you back off a letter, I love it.
Very good.
Blimey, I've done it again. Recommendation calls are great when people ring up and a past client has told them to
Established
give me
client?
yeah.
Established?
Yeah, but has recommended me to
Yep.
established client, to someone else, and then they're ringing up. So that's great, sort of booking that in. Also like it when you get something through social media, when you've been sort of recommended on some of the groups, and then it's amazing how many people see those recommendations that don't comment or like or anything. And then I've had calls, a few months later, ask them how they heard about me, and they're like, oh, I saw you on a group, you were recommended by a few people, and then you go out and value the house. It's great.
Very good.
I think that everyone in here, as an eXp agent, has got a massive advantage over the high street because it's the difference between the brand versus the individual. My favourite phone calls are just when you're speaking to a vendor, you have this human compulsion to help other human beings. So if you're speaking to them and just saying, look, do you know anyone else that's actually thinking about moving? Can you put me in touch with them? If I'm having conversations like that when I was on the high street, they're just like, oh yeah, it's the brand. Oh yeah, Andrew, yeah, cool. Like, yeah, I'll let you know. But the advantage that we've all got is that vendors are much more likely to want to help us on a one-to-one basis and go, yeah, I'll get my mate to give you a call. So it's an advantage that we should all bear in mind and just get into that habit of just saying, do you know anyone else? Because the likelihood is they're going to help you out now where they wouldn't have done before when we were all on the high street.
This is very powerful. No matter where you are in this world, people buy off people. Now, a brand can bring some safety in some scenarios. An eXp is an international director of, you're dealing with the business owner of the business. And people love knowing that they're speaking to you. You're the person who's in charge versus that agency scenario, which is traditional versus what you're doing. We'll go back this way. How do you best sell that through your communications? Why eXp and what's the difference with you now?
Honestly, valuations. I always love doing valuations on the high street. I love doing valuations more now because we've got such an unfair advantage. I will look after you from start to finish. You think you think Richard from my previous company is an impressive individual. He is. You won't be speaking to Richard again. That'll be it. He's tasked to go and get other properties on. You won't speak to him. Me, I'm here from start to finish. And that is a huge unfair advantage over any other agent. So yeah, it's just getting that point across, and people are normally pretty sold on that.
Very good.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. Sort of continuity is what a lot of the clients like. So I think, that's a massive plus for us. Absolutely. Can you repeat the question? Sorry,
Yeah.
I've got a bit of a blank there.
No, it's very good. So everyone's come from traditional real estate. You've made the decision to come to eXp.
Yeah.
The listing starts when you first meet the person. And it's amazing how so many agents wait to the actual presentation, the grand final, to have the real conversations, where the listing conversation should be the phone conversations you're having. So why eXp? How do you best sell that through to they're going to be dealing with you, you're going to super glue yourself to the property versus a traditional offering?
Absolutely. I mean, one of the things I say as well, that we don't have a basic salary, so we're motivated. If we don't sell houses, we're not going to make money. Obviously, the continuity is massive, and just really good communication. I think that's a massive key. I hear so many people that go out on viewings that moan about agents because they don't get back to them. It's quite simple, really.
Yep. Very interesting game. And for everyone in the room, make sure you've transitioned. eXp is an international selling process, not just local. You don't want to be hyper-local. You've joined this group to be part of an international sales process. And if someone's moving from Australia, Spain, Portugal, you're the relocation officer for your area. But I wanted an international approach to selling real estate, not just local. I've been local, but we wanted that international approach. This is that theming that you've got to get into your prospecting conversations. What are you doing?
Yes, a couple of things. One, not to worry about your name. I think sometimes people go, "Oh, I'm just, Jonathan Woods." But if you look at estate agencies where we are, so Kinney, Farquhar, Hayward, Knight Frank, John D. Wood, they're all just names that you associate with estate agencies. So why couldn't you be, Jonathan Woods? I'm Jonathan Woods Real Estate. That's me. I think one of the things I say to vendors in general is that when you invite other agents around to your appraisal, in the majority, those people that are going to come and sit on your couch are probably going to be, quite eloquent, good salespeople. They're in that position because of them, they were good. But that is usually the first and last time they will ever set foot in your home. They will go back to their office and they will put your listing in a big pile with all the rest of it, and it will be delegated out to junior staff. And I don't know what the stats are elsewhere in the country, but for our sort of area of London, the average estate agent sells around 40% of what they put on the market. So what about the other 60%? My stats are in the region of 90 to 95% of what I list gets sold. And that's because of the dedication and the small volume versus higher service and smaller volume.
Very good. And Raf?
I circle back a little bit to what Chris and Andrew said about providing that personal service and looking after them from start to finish. You can also spend a lot more on the marketing than you would compared to some of the high street agents in terms of video tours, professional photography, and you'll just make the showcase the property so much more better than some of the high street agents will. So those are the things that usually I try and come across in the living room when I'm speaking to clients.
Absolutely fascinating. I'm just picking up this myself here today, that it seems a lot of the high street agents are more antique stores than, real estate is not about collecting things. It's about selling things. You bring it on, it goes. And that shift of thinking, and the reason you've come to eXp is that you want to be that SEAL team. You would engage us to get the job done, or you could place it on the market and see how you go. There's a significant difference. But from all that conversation just then, my tip to all of you, bring it into your prospecting conversation. Can't run onto the grand final with your thongs on or your flip-flops. You've got to be ready at that time. But ladies and gentlemen, please thank our panel for sharing their story. Thank you.